It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, and we're back again for looking at the best bets in round 2 of the French Open here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. I'm Nigel Seeley, your host for the next 40 minutes or so, and joining me is our senior ATP Tour handicapper, it's Sean Calvert. Sean, good afternoon to you. The last time we spoke to you, you're going through an 8-week kind of shaking off a bug. 6 weeks shaking off a bug.
8 weeks in total, supposedly, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I feel about 2% better this time than I did last show, so that's a positive.
That's good.
But it's still horrible. It's all right this time of day, actually, but in the mornings, mornings and nights, you don't want to be anywhere near the Calvert household. You'll just hear all sorts, coughing and spluttering, and it's not pleasant, but it is what it is. It's not. I do feel slightly better in myself this week, so that's a small bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, 2% a day, 49 days.
Should be fine by Wimbledon, probably. Or when the French Open ends, depending on when this weather cycle's going to end.
Well, that is the most important thing we were speaking about here. Obviously, if you joined us, and there was a lot of you who joined us, so thank you very much for everybody who has joined. Everyone has commented, everyone has watched these shows here on the French Open. We had some really, really good positive views on the tournament winners show. We had great shows views on the first round shows, and obviously lots and lots of new people have subscribed as well. So thank you very much for joining us, and make sure you keep subscribed throughout the summer, throughout the year, and throughout next year as well. French Open, obviously the talking point in today, every day's been affected by this rain, and it doesn't look too good for the next 2 or 3 days, does it, Sean?
No, I've just looked at tomorrow's forecast. I've sort of briefly looked at the week ahead, but I looked at the week ahead last week as well, and it said there wasn't going to be much rain this week. That was wrong. The weather forecasts haven't been great this year, have they? They've been extremely questionable. I know it's difficult to get it precise, but it didn't say there was going to be like 2 or 3 days this week of fairly kind of solid rain, or showers at least. It didn't say that at all. What it does say about Wednesday, which is what we're talking about here, it does say it's going to be pretty much the same, rain forecast for most of the day. So they're a bit behind. They can only play couple of courts, can't they? I don't think there's been any play at all so far on the outside courts today. No. At the time we're speaking, there's just the matches that are on the couple of courts that have got roofs. So they're behind. So they're going to have to play catch up over the next few days.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. Now we're going to talk about the conditions and how that affects sort of how you should approach your betting on the matches for tomorrow and for the rest of the tournament as well. But before we do that, yesterday we saw what looked like the final match of his career for the 14-time champion here at the French Open, Rafael Nadal, 22-time Grand Slam winner.
The last match maybe of his Roland-Garros career. I don't know about the last match of his career.
Yeah, it's Roland-Garros. I meant Roland-Garros career. But I mean, at the end of the day, he looked like it was his final match here. Maybe he'll come back for the Olympics, I'm sure. Yeah. But in the French Open, it would be his last match.
Probably.
I think the takeout for me yesterday was, I didn't think Nadal played that bad. I thought he mixed it up. He was quite competitive. I don't think he dropped his levels so much. But I thought Zverev yesterday was super.
I think mentally, yeah. Sorry, mate. Were you finished there?
Yeah.
I just think mentally, it was a tough situation for Zverev, wasn't it? That was the only thing that sort of slightly would have concerned me if I was a Zverev backer in that match. I mean, he was prohibitively short. He was about he was 1-4, wasn't he? So. Yeah, big odds on. I thought Nadal was awful in the first set, to be honest. I mean, he couldn't find the length at all. Everything was landing in the service box. Too easy. It made it way too easy for Zverev. I was expecting Nadal to come out better than that, knowing that all the sort of mental pressure that was on Zverev, and it's something he hasn't handled well in the past on numerous occasions. I thought if Nadal came out playing in the first set like he did in the second and third sets, I think we might have seen something that a little bit more interesting, because Zverev was shaky at the start, as you can expect. It's a hard situation for him to come in here and basically be expected as a 1-4 favourite to finish Nadal's Roland-Garros career. Only 2 men had ever beaten him before. That's a tough mental situation for Zverev, but I thought he handled it very well. Although, as I said, Nadal, I think, gave him a helping hand to start with by being very, very poor in his length and just allowing Zverev to take control of the match. But if you're a Nadal fan, you're probably thinking, no, maybe we'll see him again next year, because his level wasn't that far away in sets 2 and 3. He just can't do the things quite as well as he used to. That's all. And that's age and miles on the clock, unfortunately, for him.
I know exactly how he feels. Can't do anything like I used to do. Nothing.
Can he not?
No, nothing. Run for a bus, it's embarrassing.
You've never run for a bus in your life.
Well, run for an Uber when he's missed me.
That's more like it. Run for a place, run for a lounge or something. I don't know about run for a bus.
Yeah, well, I don't know what it is. I think well, it's age, isn't it? And obviously he sort of caught up with me. So I thought Zverev handled the situation brilliant. I thought set 2, set 3 is really, really aggressive. And we are coming into this second podcast of the week. We're looking at the second round matches here. And on our outright podcast, we had a bad day. Our 2 picks are both eliminated from the tournament. Obviously, we did okay on the matches. But I know you're looking at Zverev. We spoke about Zverev as a potential winner, but you were thinking the line was too short. Mm-hmm. Is there something on that performance that you might think, hang on a minute, this boy's playing? Because I think he's playing probably now, arguably some of the best tennis in the world of everybody.
Yeah, I still think it's too short. He's beaten a subpar, let's be honest, Nadal. But he's still got to go through. He's probably got to go through Rune. He's got to go through Djokovic. just to get to the final. And what is he, about 5-6 to 1? I can't.
Yep. Yeah, he's being bet.
No value. I mean, these guys, the people that are betting him, they might be right, but it's not my sort of bet. I can't recommend bets where I don't see some sort of value. I just think it's too short. As I said at the start, I think my strategy was fine. It's just that the two players I picked didn't perform on the day. Tabello choked from a set and 5-2 up. I think he was 1.06 in play. Stopped playing, as he did against Zverev, incidentally, in the Rome semi-final, and couldn't get it back together again. And Jarry was dreadful, but he wasn't helped by the scheduling. He had to play Moutet, who I said was going to be a tricky matchup for him. He had to play Moutet at night after the rain. So, we weren't helped by those two. But I still think Sinner is vulnerable, very much so in Q4. It's just unfortunate that the two that I picked didn't perform.
I know it's very hard to gauge on the back of just one match, but Sinner, said he's vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Alcaraz won very, very easily. We spoke about players that the market may adjust.
Yep.
What did you make of them two on their
I think Alcaraz
appearances, their first round?
Is the most likely winner now, in all honesty. I know he's only played one match. I know it was against Jeff Wolf. It wasn't particularly demanding. But for him, there were a lot of positive signs. He was hitting the forehand better. He said after the match, I wasn't, I was still a bit wary about hitting the forehand, but I think he said once the match was over and then he realised there was no pain, there was no comeback on that. I think that'll give him a huge amount of confidence for the next match. And as I said, I think Sinner's vulnerable. So if you're taking Sinner out of that bottom half, Alcaraz has got what? Tsitsipas and Rublev. If Alcaraz is fit, then for me he's the most likely winner.
That is the outright market. You can head across the Bet Rivers now and get all the latest prices to win the French Open on the men's and the women's draw as well. Very interesting market as well. But I would probably guess that the biggest liability for Bet Rivers would be Alexander Zverev. He has been very, very impressive, and he's been slashed in the betting markets down to now 5-1. Sean, and I agree with Sean. I don't think he's any value, but I actually bet him to win Wimbledon this morning, 33-1. I had to do it. I just thought
33 is decent.
So confident.
He's not been the best on grass over the years, but 33 feels a little too big for me without really thinking about it off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, it's not the grass that it was at Wimbledon. It's slower, it's higher bouncing. It is in the second week anyway. If he can get through that first week, he gets a decent draw. Then I think that's a decent price. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you head across now, get that 33 win. I don't think it'll be there if he gets the semi-finals. Or final, even wins his tournament, you're looking at a 10-1 shot.
It's a tough ask, though, isn't it, to win French and Wimbledon back-to-back? Not many people have done it over the years. Djokovic couldn't do it last year. Jannik has done it before. It's tough. But that prize, I think you're right, that price
Nadal must have done it. Nadal must have done it, mustn't he?
If he's done it, he's only done it like once or twice at the absolute most. He only won Wimbledon a couple of times, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, I just presumed that the year he won Wimbledon, he would have won the French
you would
Open.
Assume, but it's not an easy thing to do at all. I mean, Nadal's a different beast to most people, and Djokovic. You're asking Zverev to do it, win his first major, all the emotions and everything that comes with that, and then a few weeks later win another one. It's a tough ask, but as I said, that price does feel a little bit big. Yeah.
Yep, that's all to come. That's all to come over the next couple of weeks here. We'll see how the French Open sort of pans out, and then we've got Wimbledon at the beginning of July as well. So all that action here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Mate. It's all about now, though. It's tomorrow's matches, if they are going to be played. I mean, this is the quite interesting thing here. The conditions, Sean, just anyone new to betting, obviously, in these tournaments. When it rains, it makes it this court's very different, and certain players have a different kind of edge, don't they?
Yeah, slower, lower bouncing. That will suit some players more than others. Incidentally, we should just probably mention that Nadal wasn't helped at all by the fact that he had to play with the roof closed on a wet day. That wouldn't have been ideal for him at all against Zverev. We all know that Nadal likes it dry, sunny, so he can really get that topspin kicking off the surface. It doesn't have the same effect when in damp conditions, so that was a negative for him as well. So, yeah, it's just different. The clay's different. It depends how long they allow the rain to fall before putting the covers on. I have seen them this week take the covers off and then water it, which I found a little bit strange. But yeah, conditions, you got to check, match by match. This is why it's kind of a little bit difficult for us, because we're looking at matches without a schedule. We don't know what court they're going to be on. We don't know what the weather's going to be like. So, sometimes it does pay to wait a little bit until you do know what the exact conditions are going to be before you place your bets.
Yep. And here we're going to mark your card. We did all right on the first round matches. We had a couple of winners. Sonego was a brilliant read. Not so good on a couple of others. A couple of Lings won. Arnaldi won well.
Arnaldi won. Nishioka was terrible. He had a real mood on him. I don't know whether you saw that match, but
set one, he'd done it all in. He played all right at set two.
He was in a foul mood. He was moaning about everything, just throwing the arms up. Oh, what's going on? He was really in one. He made it far.
Impersonating Sean Calvert. He was doing a Sean Calvert in Madrid.
I suppose he was a little bit, yeah. But he's a professional tennis player. He's also about 30 years younger than me, so he should be able to handle these situations. But he just left everything far too short. He was just allowing Felix to tee off on every shot. He had a shocking day. Seiboth was disappointing as well. He was a break-up in the third set against Monfils. He was about 1-3. Stopped playing. I think he just got a bit scared of the crowd and of what Monfils was doing at the other end. So, I feel all those bets were value. I'd have them again. They just didn't work out on the day, that's all.
Yeah, the Sonego read was fantastic. It was plus 165. The market moved. And Arnaldi was a big lean, which was a very, very easy winner. So listen, you're going to make money on the tournament if you follow this show. Anyway, don't worry about that. We've got 6 matches today for the second round, which is scheduled to start on Wednesday. Whether it does or not with this weather delay, we really don't know. But you obviously head across to the BetRivers website to find out about the scheduling and the time of these matches. But these should be played around about 6 a.m. Eastern time, 5 a.m. Eastern time, I think. The first match is on Wednesday. So head across there when you find out what the order of play is. And the first match we're going to discuss is a very, very heavy favourite. I think it's the lowest favourite on the round. It's Jannik Sinner up against Richard Gasquet. Jannik Sinner is minus 3,335 to win this match. You've got to put $3,335 on to win 100. Richard Gasquet is 1,300, so he's 13-1. He played really well against Korda.
Really well.
Great performance. Really well. The spread here is a massive 8.5. Richard Gasquet plus 8.5 is plus 104. Minus 8.5 for Sinner is minus 134. Not a bet for me. And the total here is 29.5. If you look at the head-to-head record, it's 2-0 in favour of Jannik Sinner. They both played in 2023 in Halle on the grass, which Sinner won in 3 sets. And in Indian Wells, Sinner also won, but it wasn't easy. He won in a tie-break in the final set, so 6-3, 7-6. So I'm guessing here that we're looking at getting with Sinner in some capacity, maybe on the first set, maybe on the handicap. We're looking getting with Gasquet in some capacity here on the first set, maybe the handicap, because this line looks very, very heavily weighted in favour of Sinner here.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced he's fit. I'm really not. I watched him against Eubanks. I mean, Eubanks is about as easy a first round match on clay as you'll probably get. He can't return at the best of times. And now it's interesting what Sinner said after that Eubanks match, which was a bit of a struggle. He said, and I'm going to quote him here, this is something that's not been mentioned. He said, "I've been ill for a long time, and in some way it helped me not to think about tennis. I laid in bed for a long time because I couldn't even leave home." Sounds like me with this virus. "I lost some muscle mass, which is important to me. It takes me a long time to...
Sounds like me, that one. Sounds like me.
Lost muscle mass.
Oh, it's beef. Beef, it was young.
I was going to say, how many years back are you going here?
Oh, way back.
I lost some muscle mass, which is important to me. It takes me a long time to gain mass, and I lose it quickly. So, aside from this hip problem, which they were all talking about being quite a serious issue, he's now admitted that he's been ill in bed with some similar virus to what I had, probably. So he's not in great condition. He didn't look very good at all, as I said, against Hubert. And he's 1.02, 1.03 to win this match. I mean, yeah, he probably will win it, but I wouldn't be convinced at all about it being as easy as those odds suggest. Most people probably just blindly put him in a parlay or something, and he probably will win, but I don't see how you can back him at that. I mean, Gasquet was really, really good against Borna Coric. Won it in straight sets against Coric, and he should have won it easy. And that's not an easy matchup for Gasquet. Coric makes a lot of balls, particularly on the backhand side, and it was vintage Gasquet at times. If he plays like that again, if he comes out and starts against Sinner, how he played for the vast majority of the 3 sets against Coric, I think he'll at least cause Sinner some problems. This version of Sinner, anyway, maybe not peak Sinner, but the Sinner that we're seeing right now. Interestingly, also, Gasquet, who I've criticised many times over the years because I don't think he's really done that much physical work. He doesn't look like he's spent too many hours in the gym. But he's now, at the age of, 37? He says, I've worked a lot on my physical condition this year. And he says it's paid off with that win over Coric. In times gone by, recent times, Gasquet would be struggling on slowish clay to really get the ball through the court. But some of the stuff he played against Coric was great. So if you're having a bet in this match, it can only really be a lean because it's just a sort of a feeling, really. Gasquet to win set 1 at plus 480 with Bet Rivers. I think that's probably where I'd be going. I think it'd be more competitive than the prices are suggesting.
This would also probably be on a show court, but it will be on a show court. Got the Australian Open champion against the Frenchman.
Oh yeah, it will be. Yeah,
it's going to be his last French Open as well. Gasquet,
yeah,
you would have thought.
Yeah. I was very impressed by him against Coric. That wasn't an easy match at all, and he played it really well. Could have won easier.
Yep. So the crowd are going to be massively behind
Hugely.
Richard Gasquet. He's plus 480. Sinner, vulnerable. Problems we know with his physicality. We also know now we're hearing more that he's had the virus as well. So there may be a lot of markets to get with him. Head across to the Better's website. 40 different markets available in this match. Set 1 is Sean's lean here at plus 480. The handicap here at 8.5 may interest some. Other different markets, maybe over 3.5 sets. Lots of different ways to get with this. We are, it's very hard not to make a case for Jannik Sinner to win this because he's minus 3,335 and he's the Australian Open champion. But it might not be as one-sided as those odds suggest. So the beauty of this, 40 different markets, not just your one money line, loads of different markets, head across and have a look at which way you want to play. But for us, set 1, Gasquet at plus 480 is the lean for us, not an official pay, lean for us. Okay, we move on to the second match. It involves another Italian, a man who done us a great favour in round 1. Now, I'm not quite sure where Sean's going to go here, because I know Sean has no allegiances to anybody who makes you money in round 1. No. You can drop them like that. No problem whatsoever.
I'm about to,
And it's Lorenzo Sonego. Yeah, he's about. So there he goes. So Lorenzo Sonego made us money at plus 165. Was betting to plus 150. He's now against Zhizhen Yang. It's a picker match as far as Bet Rivers is concerned. Minus 112 the pair. The spread is pretty irrelevant because it's 1.5. You can bet it whichever way you want to go. The totals, obviously, as you expect with a pick and match, a high 39.5 with over minus 120 and under minus 106. Now, you just said it there that you're not sticking with your man. You've made your money from him. That's the way to betting. We bet with your heads rather than your heart here. So he's done us no favours. We've done a favour. That's it. Move on.
Yeah, I don't have favourites in this game anymore. You just look at a match and see it how you see it. I mean, a lot of books have got Sonego as favourite here, which immediately I'm not sure about that. On the last 12 months clay stats at main level, Sonego, service points won and return points won total of 100, service hold and break total of 100. Zhang, better, service points won and return points won total of 102, and a service hold and break total of 104. So immediately I'm thinking Sonego as a slight favourite or joint favourite. Not for me. He's been talking about how he's made a lot of changes to his game, much more aggressive now, Sonego, but it's leading to a lot of unforced errors. That match against Humbert did work out as I'd suggested, and the main reason for that bet was that I thought that Humbert wasn't fit, and I still don't think he was fit. He looked very leggy after the second set, but a ton of errors from Sonego. I didn't think he played that well, to be honest. I think he was a little bit fortunate that Humbert, as expected, wasn't fit to go the full 5 sets. So that one worked out pretty well, but not convinced. He's tinkering with his game, Sonego. It doesn't look quite right to me. Zhang's also won the only time they played in the past, head-to-head, which was on grass, I think, at Eastbourne. You might even have been there, I don't know. I just feel like there's a sliver.
I didn't see it didn't see the match from the hospitality tent or something like that. Yeah, he won 7-6, 6-3.
I can't imagine you spent too much time watching Zhang against.
We were having pims. I didn't. The tennis was going on in the background. Irrelevant really at the time. But then, he did win that match. I didn't know. I wasn't.
I'm not even sure whether you were there that year. One of us probably was, because I've been there numerous times. I just think there's a slight sliver of value on Zhang. If you can get even money or better, either at the start, either before the match, or maybe just after it starts, I think that's where I'd be going. I'm not sure I back him at 1.9, but I feel like there is a teeny bit of value there on Zhang. I certainly couldn't back Sonego at odds on, so maybe wait for even money. You can get that. Take Zhang.
There has been money for Sonego, and looking at my little screen here, the Sonego price is under a bit of pressure, so you may get a little bit of a drift towards Zhang, which is good for us. So hopefully we can get some of that. And obviously this could be a good in-play match because, it's a pick-a match.
It could be a long one.
The games are long, so it could be a real long one. So remember, there is a French Open in-play bet insurance with Bet Rivers each day of the French Open. French Open in-play bet insurance each day of the French Open at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If your French Open in-play wager loses, you will get a bonus back equal to 50% on your bet. Good on your first in-play bet each day of Roland-Garros. Minimum odds of -150 or longer. Good for up to $25 back in bonus wagers. So see the Bet Rivers app for full details. And this match is certainly one that's going to have some twists and turns along the way. So Sonego against Zhang. There may be a drift, currently -112, the pair. The market may go towards Sonego after his good performance in round one, but we want to get with Zhang here, who is currently -112, but we want to hold on our bets to hopefully get a little bit of a better price. And no official play yet on our first 2 bets, and we move on to our third play, which is Hubert Hurkacz, -315 against Brandon Nakashima. Our record on Hurkacz, if you watch his show for the last 2 or 3 years, has been pretty much 100% every time Hurkacz plays. We usually cash, and usually it's on the games markets or tie-break markets. I don't know where Sean's going to go here, but on the money line, Hurkacz is -315, Nakashima is +245. The spread here is 4.5, -106. Hurkacz giving up 4.5, +120 for Nakashima, receiving 4.5, and the total is a massive 40.5, with over -110, under -115, which is very, very, very high for clay court tennis. You never see lines of 40.5, especially in round ones or round twos. They're usually for like semi-finals or finals. So 40.5 is a very, very high line, but with Nakashima, with Hurkacz, we pretty much understand why. They've never met before on the main tour. They played an exhibition match in 2020, which is totally irrelevant. But Hurkacz struggled in round one against a man that I don't really want to pronounce. I'll leave it to you. And I don't really want to pronounce the guy that Nakashima played either. So, Sean, you tell us how they got on in round one.
He didn't do well, did he, in round one? 5 sets with Mochizuki.
There you go. Oh, Mochizuki.
Well, that's my pronunciation. I'm not saying that's correct, but that's what I call him. He's not got much power at all, Mochizuki. I saw him at Indian Wells. I think he was playing Vukic. Lost, if I remember rightly, lost 7-6, 7-6. It was dreadful. No power at all, really, Mochizuki. I'm surprised that he took him to 5 sets, but Hurkacz, not the best, not the greatest of record at the French Open. I mean, this is obviously going to be a serve-dominated match. Obviously, it depends when it's being played, in what conditions, but Nakashima's another one. In fact, he's got even better serving stats on clay than Hurkacz has, so I can understand why it's 40.5, I think the overline is, isn't it? I think Nakashima offers some value on the money line here, or certainly on the handicap, which is where I'm going. Nakashima's held serve 91% of the time on clay at main level in the last 12 months, which is insanely high when you consider Hurkacz, who's got the best serving stats on the tour, has only held serve 85% of the time on clay. Nakashima wasn't broken at all in round one by Moreno de Alboran. Both men win the same number of first serve points on clay. 75% of their first serve points on clay they win. Last 12 months on clay at main level, if we look at the service points won and return points won totals, it's a slight edge to Nakashima, 105 to him, 104 to Hurkacz. And even on the service hold and break totals, also an edge to Nakashima, 107 to 105. Now, if we go to the French Open service points won and return points won totals, Nakashima's only played 4 matches, so it's a very small sample size from him, but his service points won and return points won total is 108, and he's held serve 86% of the time at this tournament. Very small sample size, but an excellent start to his French Open career. Now, Hurkacz, he's only held serve 82% of the time here at the French Open, and his service points won and return points won total is 102. So I'm struggling to really get the odds on this one. I know Hurkacz is the familiar name, the higher ranked player, who's achieved more in the game, all that sort of stuff. But on the stats and on what I saw from him in the first round, it's got to be Nakashima here in some way. I don't know whether the line's changed on this or anything, but when I looked earlier, Nakashima plus 4.5 games on the handicap, he was minus 119. And that's where I'd like to go on this one.
Pretty much the same. Nakashima's plus 4.5 at minus 120, and it's a strategy that I always like to play, getting with the dog when you've got a big server, because Hurkacz is more likely to win. I've used this strategy many times. Hurkacz is much more likely to win a set 7-6 more than most.
Yeah.
So when you get big handicaps, you're not going to be blown out by a 6-1 or 6-2. It's very unlikely for Hurkacz to do that.
Particularly with Nakashima, because he's held serve 91% of the time on clay in the last 12 months. So that's kind of the thinking. Yeah, your strategy is kind of the same as mine here. Nakashima plus 4.5 games. That's been my official play today.
So that is our first. Is it going to be our only one? Or is it going to, we've got a few more?
I'm being circumspect. As I've said before, the French Open can absolutely kill you in the first couple of rounds. 22% underdog winners. You've got to be careful, I think. If you're putting too many bets on the French Open, it can really put a dent in the good work that you've done so far up to this point in the season.
And our good work has been very good. We think we're about 11 units up so far. I haven't got the graphic in front of me, but I think it's about 11.5 units up in front. I'm sure John, our graphic man, will put up the graphic and let me know how many units we're up in due course. But I think it's about 11 units up. One man who didn't do us any favours was the man who was involved in Geneva, our pick in Geneva. It's Fabian Marozsan, who got beat in round one in a very, very disappointing performance. He didn't really help. He got beat by Shevchenko, didn't he, in Geneva in round one. He's up against Grigor Dimitrov, and Dimitrov is the favourite here at minus 295. Fabian Marozsan is plus 230. Famously, he beat Carlos Alcaraz last year on the clay in Rome, the biggest shock of the year. Plus 230 for Marozsan. The spread 3.5, minus 3.5 for Dimitrov. Very low, minus 162. Marozsan receiving 3.5 is plus 120. And the total here is minus 113. These two players have never met before. They both come through pretty easily in round one in straight sets wins. But Marozsan let us down, didn't he, in Geneva? And are we prepared to forgive him for that performance, or are we going to just stick him in a naughty list?
It was almost really annoying, because the two that I mentioned in Geneva were Marozsan and Kaboli. I went with Marozsan. He lost in the first round. Kaboli was a point away from making the final. I'm actually quite glad he didn't take that match point, because I would have been kind of annoyed if that had happened. But that happens in outright betting, doesn't it? I just wonder if Marozsan's found his form again. I know he only beat Kukushkin in the first round. Kukushkin obviously right at the end of his career, never been much of a clay man anyway, likes a quicker surface. So he's had a poor clay swing so far, Marozsan, after the great one he had, or very, very good one anyway, last year. But he's shown, what I still like about Marozsan is that he's shown still shown a liking for playing the best players, such as Dimitrov. If we look at what he's done against the current top 20 in his career so far, he's got a 50% win rate. against the top 20 players, which is excellent. 6-6 win-loss. And his service points won and return points won total is 98 in those 12 matches. That's very, very respectable indeed. And Dimitrov, if we look at what he's done against the current top 20, the same players, in the last 12 months, 45% win rate. And his service points won and return points won total is just a squeak better on 99. So I feel like the level is there for Marozsan. He doesn't always produce it, which is why he's the price he is today. But if he is going to produce it, it wouldn't surprise me if it's here. Dimitrov's record at the French isn't that great. And if we look at what Dimitrov's done at the French Open against top 50 ranked opponents, such as Marozsan, who's 43 at the minute, he's 3-11 win-loss, Dimitrov, at this tournament against top 50 players. So a very poor percentage win rate against the top 50. So you couldn't really back him at, what's he, minus 295. I feel like this is one where you might get an upset, or you certainly might get a more competitive match than the odds suggest. It's a bit of a risk because Marozsan hasn't been great this clay swing, but if I was betting in this match, I think I'd just take a punt on Marozsan, plus 230.
Yeah, Dimitrov, I mean, it was crazy, wasn't it? Start of the season, everyone's talking about an Australian Open winner. He's had that brilliant start to the year.
People were, yeah.
Yeah, but the market got him really, really sort of got right stuck into it.
And he lost to Borges.
But I just think that he's got to run out. He's got to run out of time. Well, you see these sort of players who've been around long years are getting towards the end of their career.
Slow clay as well.
Seems to be got better.
It's not going to help him, is it? Dimitrov, generally, maybe not. He's got older, but generally, quick conditions are his bag, so to speak. And slow clay, I think Marozsan could cause him some problems.
This, again, could be another one that goes very, very long. Remember that Bet Rivers special on the French Open in play each day, the French Open at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If your first French Open in play wager loses, you will get a bonus back equal to 50% of your bet. Good on your first in-play bet each day, every day of Roland-Garros. Minimum bets of minus 150 or longer. Good for up to $25 back in bonus wagers. See the Bet Rivers app for full details. This could be a very long one, I believe, here. Moving on to Andrey Rublev, a player who won Monte Carlo last year for us. He's where did he win?
Madrid.
He won recently, didn't he? Madrid, yeah, on clay. A player that's always around about the quarterfinalists of every major, but never really goes on and does a little bit better. He's minus 625 against Pedro Martinez. A tough match for him here. Martinez is plus 450. The spread here is 6.5. Andrey Rublev is very heavy at minus 132. Martinez receiving 6.5 is minus 104, and the total here is 34.5. And when you consider some of the matches that we've been speaking about here, 34.5 does seem a little bit low. They have met once before, and it was in the US Open in 2021. The first two sets were tiebreaks. 7-6, Rublev won the first set. Martinez won the second set 7-6, and then the Russian ran away with it 6-1, 6-1. If you want to bet on the overs on the total games, it's 34.5 is minus 113, and under is also minus 113. What do you think about this one?
I think that's a classic example, that Martinez match at the US Open, of what Rublev tends to do at majors. I'm going to be brief on this one. It's just a theory based on Rublev's records generally at slams, but specifically at Roland-Garros. If we look at what he's done at this particular tournament, Rublev, he's played 15 main draw matches, and he's won in straight sets one time, which was against Kevin Anderson in 2020. And he's won by
probably the one that you wouldn't expect to be straight sets. It was like a bit of a battle.
Anderson on clay,
not great on clay, but
yeah, he wasn't up to much Anderson on clay. It was COVID year as well, wasn't it? 2020 it was when they played it later in the year, I think, if my memory serves me rightly. And he's won by 3-1 in 8 of the 14 completed matches he's played at the French Open. Did it against Martinez at the US Open, where you wouldn't expect Martinez really to do anything on a hard court against Rublev. Did it there. Did it again in the first round here against Taro Daniel. Dropped a set, won 3-1. Martinez has played a hell of a lot of clay court tennis this swing, and he may well run out of gas. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Rublev won this 3-1, which is a plus 225 chance with Bet Rivers. That's his general trend. He tends to play certainly well enough to beat these opposition. I'm sure he'll win this match, but it wouldn't at all surprise me for him to drop a set. So that is the one of interest there. Plus 225 at Bet Rivers.
Plus 225 at Bet Rivers are on a set scoreline for Sean there. Rublev to win 3-6-1, which has been very, very profitable if you bet him here at the French Open. Just to let you know, 8.72 units we are up on the season so far, and hopefully add to that as the day and the tournament progresses. Just one, there's still no play at the French Open today, Sean, so there's, on the outside court, so they've got a big backlog. These matches might run into another day, but obviously if we are talking about matches, you need to head across to that Bet Rivers website and check that order of play. 5 a.m. start tomorrow, but I think there's going to be a huge backlog for matches they're missing today, so these might even stretch on until Thursday, so make sure you check out the time so you don't miss anything on there. The final match we're going to speak about on this second round preview is a match between the enigma that is Sebastian Korda for this show. We can never call him right, but he's up against Kwon here, and Korda on clay minus 715. I'm very shocked by that. 5-10 for Kwon, 7.5 is the handicap. Korda giving up 7.5 minus 110. Plus 110. Kwon plus 7.5 minus 143, and the total here is 34.5. The pair have met once before in Delray Beach in 2021 in Korda-like conditions, which he would have enjoyed more, and he won 6-4, 6-4. There has been money for Korda. I can imagine it being in many parlays for second round matches, because a lot of people just put in the heavy odds on favourites. But minus 715 for Korda on clay, is that? What do you think of that?
I think it's a dreadful price, but not based on his general level, but based on the fact that he's injured. If anybody saw his round one match against Mayotte, he's got what looks like a pretty bad right thigh injury. I mean, when he won the match, Mayotte was terrible. I think he just didn't perform at all. And he was, sometimes when the French players come out at Roland-Garros, they either rise to the occasion or they don't, and Mayotte certainly didn't. He certainly should have made Korda go to at least 4 sets, but didn't. Doesn't look fit at all. I mean, he collapsed to the ground when he won it, Korda, which you wouldn't expect. You would expect that if he won a big tournament or he beat a big player. To beat Mayotte in the first round and then sort of collapse in sort of joy and relief, it shows you how bad his condition was, and he's very fortunate to get through that. Kwon is another guy who's no stranger to injury. He's been out injured for a long time. Then he came back. It's another one of those peculiar French Open results. Beat Roussevoori, dismissed Roussevoori in straight sets, and Kwon hasn't played main level for a long time because of a year or so off the tour with injury. Another peculiar result. I would just take Kwon here on the basis that I don't think Korda's fit. Conditions are going to be slow and heavy. Therefore, you would think the rallies were going to be longer. You would think it'd be more physical. If he's still struggling with this right thigh injury, then I don't see any reason why Kwon can't win this match.
Kwon is 5-10. Money is for Korda. Everyone puts him in the parlay and thinks all these minus money favourites are going to win, but you're always going to get one shock, or at least one shock in the second round at the French Open, and hopefully Kwon is the man to produce that shock. There's also Alcaraz in action, Tsitsipas in action, Medvedev in action, but as I say, it may span over a couple of days here, so it's going to be, I think the scheduling for the next 2 or 3 days is going to be really up in the air. You will get the show courts going, so Sinner Gasquet will be on, I'm sure.
Yep.
The rest of them, they may have to play a little bit of a backlog on the matches, so bear that in mind. And remember, you can head across to the Bet Rivers website and find out. Remember that parlay boost as well, and also the in-play betting special that we have with Bet Rivers. Sean, so just one official play. What's the official play?
Official play, Nakashima plus 4.5 games at 1.84 minus 119 with Bet Rivers to beat Hurkacz.
Yep, just the one pick, 6 matches, a few leans there, but just one official play that's going to go on them records. Remember, those records are 8.32 units up. Remember, there's a few ways to subscribe to us here. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios. You get all the tennis content on there. And now, like I said at the top of the show, so many of you have joined. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Real great numbers on the first couple of shows, and new subscribers coming along as well. So glad, welcome along. Leave us a comment here if you've got any questions for myself or Sean, any picks you'd like, anything you want to mention for the show. Please leave a comment in the comments box at the bottom. Obviously, the Champions League final is on Saturday at Wembley. Real Madrid are hosting Borussia Dortmund. There's a great show coming your way on that as well. And Euro 2024 is only a couple of weeks away now. The big tournament of the summer, the soccer tournament, as well as Wimbledon. So we've got you covered on everything throughout the summer here. Download the podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider. Lots and lots and lots of downloads this week. We're riding high again on the podcast chart, so thank you very much for downloading that. And also follow us on our socials at Because We Win on Instagram and on Twitter or X. I'm still old school. I still call it Twitter.
So do I.
Yeah, and I still record things rather than on the telly. I don't, when you say press the record, but I record it rather than whatever they say now, download it or watch it, live stream it.
Old school.
I'm still old school. I'm recording. We'll be back hopefully in a couple of days' time, but with this weather, I'm not really quite sure when we're going to have some live content. So we will tweet out when we're back. We'll be able to put it on the socials as well when we're back. And if there is anything that we do cover, either myself or Sean will be available on our Instagram account at Because We Win. You'll be able to follow us there for any of our picks. Sean, thank you very much as always. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's half term. You got a house full of kids coming around there in an hour, haven't you?
In about 5 minutes, I've got to go and pick 2 of them up from football camp. Yeah, so I've got them for a couple of hours.
Oh, look at that. Living the dream.
Yeah.
Living the dream. Anyway, he can say he's happy about that. Have a good day, and we'll catch up with you. Good luck with your bets, and we'll catch up with you very, very soon here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Take care.